Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for clicking. It means a lot that you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And today, we're talking about this amazing first episode. To me, the main takeaway here is it's just so much progress. I mean, compared to 41 and 42, this is miles ahead as far as a complete Survivor episode, a complete cast. Obviously, it's not the perfect cast. I do think the cast of 43 has better highs, meaning like the best players are definitely better than the best players on this season, but definitely a more consistent cast. And I think the big thing here is the edit. I mean, compared to last season's premiere episode, which was an absolutely horribly edited episode, I feel like we got to know a lot of people here, and the people who we needed to know, I think we do know by the end of this episode. There's also tons of stuff that happens here with, I believe, 4 medical visits for 3 different players, as well as a crazy blindside tribal where 1 vote actually counted, and the first successful idol play, and let's just say a very, very long time. So let's get into it. If you guys haven't already, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff because it's free, it's easy, and it really helps the channel out. Okay, so we open up with kind of the same ruining as we gotten for the past few seasons, which I did kind of have a problem with. Again, it's kind of boring. I wish they would do like the boat marooning every once in a while, but I can't really complain because this episode is really, really solid. So they walk up, they kind of banter for a little bit, and then we get our first challenge here, which immediately starts the craziness as far as the medical fiascos in this episode, where a few seconds into the challenge, Bruce dives headfirst into a pit of mud and accidentally kind of just smashes his head into part of the challenge. You actually see this sick, like 8K slow motion shot of him crashing his head and the blood just starting to drip out. It's pretty gross, and I think we all kind of knew immediately that sooner or later he's gonna get evac. There's no way that looks so bad, especially for, you know, the top of his head, an area that's so sensitive on the body. So that definitely did not look good. Jeff talked to him. He's like, hey, like, if you needed to stop the challenge, just let me know. Bruce stayed, you know, kind of chill, but later on in the challenge, Bruce just immediately started to kind of fall down and get in his knees, and then Jeff just stopped the challenge. Medical went in there. They solved the problem, at least for now. That wouldn't really be for long, but for the current moment, the challenge was back on. They somehow bandaged up his head, and they thought that it was fine for now, and that they would just monitor it for later. And the challenge ends up concluding with the 2 teams who are behind actually winning, because of course, Carolyn, who's kind of crazy, I'm not gonna lie, messing up at the end of the challenge. So in the end, we kind of see this green tribe, who's like, I guess, the strong tribe, win their pot and machete, and the other 2 tribes have to do this sweat or savvy thing. The difference is this season, the second place tribe gets to pick which one they do. So the orange tribe picks sweat, which is just to drag a bunch of coconuts back and forth for basically an hour. Brandon, the ex-NFL player, and Gathew, who I'm calling Gathew. His real name is Matthew, but he's gay, so I'm calling him Gay Matthew, Gathew. And he's super, super cool. And him and Brandon kind of beast out this challenge. It's a tough one to watch, but they do get their supplies. And this purple tribe also gets their supplies. They solve like a ring puzzle to count how many rings are in like this little sculpture. As far as starting alliances goes on the purple tribe, we are shown that it's Helen, Carson, and Sarah Wade. It's not really kind of emphasized, but you can definitely tell because that's the only alliance that they show us on that tribe. We also see that Carolyn is kind of out of the loop as far as strategy goes on her tribe, not really being able to find an ally at all. So that's definitely not good for her. And then over on the green tribe, we really get no strategy. I mean, absolutely none as far as alliances go. And so we can move on to the idol cage twist, which each tribe has. Basically, how it works is each tribe has a little bird cage thing, and in the middle is a bag with something that's good. You don't know if it's like a tribe advantage, if it's just a straight up idol, if it's an extra vote, a new twist of a beware advantage. You have absolutely zero idea, but it's public. The entire tribe knows because it's right near a tree mail, so there's no really way to hide it. Like, everyone is eventually going to see it. So there's 0 tribes where everyone does not know. I mean, every single person on this cast knows of this twist, existence. Over on the orange tribe is really the most interesting way that it went this episode, with Brandon looking with Maddie of all people, someone who he doesn't really trust, and he happens to find it, and he slips the key in his pocket, but he thinks that Maddie saw him, so he just comes out and says, oh, like, I actually found it here. And Maddie's like, we should hide it, because Maddie wants to create an alliance with Brandon. But Brandon's like, no, like, I don't really trust you at all. So he goes and tells the group. Maddie takes this as a sign that he does not trust her. And so we'll see them target each other in a later part of this episode. And then over on the purple and green, of course, nothing really happens. No one finds it so far. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. Bruce gets kind of finally medevaced. He's very sleepy and lightheaded, and his head is really hurting. Late at night, and I believe the first night or maybe the early morning of the next day, because it's still dark out, and he gets completely medevaced. So he had about 12 hours on the island, and he was gone. Really tough, but that's just how the game goes. We also see another situation, I guess, on the, I believe, second day. When Gathew wants to climb a rock because he's like in his early 40s and he doesn't want to have a midlife crisis. Again, these are his words, not mine. So he's like, I'm gonna have an adventure, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm having fun. And we see him climb a rock and he falls off the rock. His hands are horribly scraped up, but the main problem is his shoulder. Apparently he dislocates it, but before he can even finish saying I need a medic, he pops his own shoulder back into place, which is a Giga Chad move, of course. And so he's good. He has to wear a sling around his arm, at least for the time being. So we'll kind of maybe keep an update on that and see how it goes. Okay, the next thing we should talk about is Shipwheel Island. Each tribe picked a person just kind of randomly, like the small stick went. And we ended up getting Matt from the green tribe. We also got from the orange tribe, Lauren, who is the single mom. And then from the purple tribe, we of course got Sarah Wade. And so these three go. It's a little bit different this year, or at least this time, because you're forced to pick out of the bag, or like take the risk, I guess. So the first thing that you're kind of forced to do is pick out of a bag. You have a 2 and 3 shot of losing your vote and a 1 and 3 shot of getting something. And if you fail here, because again, you don't have a choice and you lose your vote, you can then voluntarily risk again. And if you don't get it, then you lose your vote now for 2 tribals in a row. Or if you get it, then you get like a less powerful, but also still an advantage. And of course, you only lose that 1 vote instead of 2. Of course, out of the 3, we have 3 different outcomes. Matt loses his vote for the next 2 tribal councils. Again, not Gathew, but Matt. Sarah does lose her vote, but does get the advantage on the second try. It's called the inheritance advantage, and it allows her to inherit any advantages played at a tribal where she chooses to play this advantage. Basically, she cleans up the trash after a tribal. So if 3 idols are played, I think she gets all 3 after the tribal's over, but she has to call it beforehand. It could work differently. If it does, let me know down below in the comments, but it seems pretty OP. And then of course we see Lauren, who basically just gets like off scot-free. She doesn't lose a vote, and she gets something called the banked vote. It's basically just an extra vote, but she has to unlock it by not voting at 1 tribal, and then she can kind of save her vote for later. A fun twist on what is kind of already a pre-existing advantage. At the immunity challenge, we see the orange tribe lose, but not before there's a mid-challenge, like very quiet convo between Claire and of course none other than the Giga Chad himself, Brandon. And basically they kind of figure out that both of the people on their tribes are lying, or at least specifically Lauren on Brandon's tribe. So Brandon comes back ready to get out Lauren, because apparently she lied about the fact that she got an advantage, which really technically will cause her to lose her vote, but she told the group that she just lost her vote straight up. And so of course now Lauren is target number 1. Brandon tries to get Gathew and Kane, and then of course Maddie and Lauren kind of centralize on Brandon, the person who publicly has an idol. Again, the entire tribe knows about it from earlier, and so that's kind of the push. Now the key thing is that Maddie and Lauren try and pull over Kane and Gathew and Jamie onto voting out Brandon here, which I think, just to start out with, is super risky. It's the first vote. Either split the votes or just vote out like a safe vote. There's no need to go risky on Brandon and him playing an idol, but they are going for the jugular here. And I don't really think they really ever thought this through, because at tribal, we see 3 people not vote. So it's very curious here, because it seems like Gathew wanted to flip because Kane ended up flipping on Brandon, but he doesn't here. He plays his shot in the dark, and he kind of copies Jamie, who actually said that she was going to do it from a while back, and then reiterated that at tribal council before they voted. She's like, I'm gonna play my shot in the dark because I'm just scared to pick a side, which is kind of pussy. But I mean, then again, like, Gathew did it, and I think it's kind of genius on his part, because now coming back from tribal, he doesn't really pick a side. He still hasn't really spoken for himself, and he doesn't close off his own options. So I'm actually kind of thinking that this could be like the meta going forward. If you're not the target for the first boot, why not just play a shot in the dark, not vote, and then have choices to see who votes? But what ends up happening is the 2 votes that count against Brandon, because Kane does flip, is Kane and of course Maddie's. Brandon votes for Maddie, and Brandon sniffs it out and plays his idol here. There's only 3 votes. Only one of them counts, and Maddie's idle out, basically just off of 1 vote, which is just nuts. I think it's really, really cool tribal to start the season out with, and overall the episode is awesome. There's a little bit to build on here as far as like maybe just spreading the love. As far as the edit, we really did see just kind of Gathew and Brandon's side of things in this entire season, but I really can't complain compared to the past few seasons, who had some doozies for premieres. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, and none of this happens without you guys. I'm just a weird guy speaking to a microphone. That's what I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.